Hello folks, today is Friday, January 31st, 2020. As usual, my name is Jake, here to talk about the gaming news that has been going on this week, and I got the date right. Can you believe it? Round of applause.
Congratulations on doing your job.
It's been quite a week for gaming news. There's a lot to talk about, so let's just dive right in. The first thing is about developers possibly being more interested in the next PlayStation over the next Xbox. Now, this is just from some data from a GDC poll. GDC, as for those of you that don't know, is the Game Developers Conference. And every year before the event, which of course is still a ways off, they do take surveys of all the developers attending. And one of the big survey things was like, what are you the most interested in terms of platforms? And there's an interesting breakdown for the next consoles. Thanks to WCCF Tech for breaking this down. It does look like interest for the upcoming PlayStation 5 is higher than the Xbox Series X, 38% versus 25%. It's worth noting that that interest in PlayStation 5 also beats out the Switch, but for this survey, PC is still the highest. Woo! Now you say, cool, Jake, that's great, but like, what can we actually extrapolate from this? I'd say a couple of small things that might not really be a big deal. I don't think this means much, but it can at least show you that maybe some developers have more of an idea of what the PlayStation 5's capabilities are. Maybe a lot of people voting in this survey do have access to dev kits, so they do know what they're really essentially talking about and working on in the near future. So there's that, but then on the flip side, you know, the poll does have a lot of people, 50% of interest in PC, meaning that PC and the next Xbox are going to go more hand in hand, so there's also that. I still think it's very early to like armchair expert any of this stuff because we haven't really seen the full capabilities of either console. You know, we don't know every single feature. We don't know any new game-changing thing it's going to have or do, which I am excited to hopefully see some more soon from both sides in that regard, because I have been talking it up a lot, but like we still don't have like the real final concrete word on either thing. Thankfully, both of these next consoles are dropping in 2020, so we'll know more soon. But a surprise announcement that I woke up to this morning that I did not expect. First and foremost, Nintendo revealed this absolutely awesome Animal Crossing Nintendo Switch. Just look at this thing. This is awesome. I'm just a sucker for a good Switch skin. You know what I mean? But the other news to come from that is Nintendo has gone on record saying not to expect a new Switch in 2020. Now, as you guys know, there have been tons and tons of rumors and speculation and industry analysts predicting that Nintendo is going to put out another Switch, an upgraded Switch, maybe a Switch Pro type of thing. We've talked about a lot. But the Nintendo boss himself, Shuntaro Furukawa, told investors that they have no plans whatsoever to release a new updated Switch in the year 2020. So I'm really sorry to like shatter anyone's dreams. I mean, I was hoping for something. I love the Switch so much. I would happily buy an upgraded one, so to speak. But I mean, with the head of Nintendo speaking directly to his investors, which I mean, like, money rules. They're not gonna like lie to their investors. You know how this stuff works. That's where we're at, and it seems like they're just going to focus on games and just the Switch itself and the Switch Lite. I would love to be surprised. I would love for him to just totally go back on his word, but that's where we're at right now. In other news, Stadia, Google Stadia is once again in the news. I don't want to make this like a dunk fest, but there has been the Stadia Reddit kind of expressing concern for the future of Stadia and how many games this thing is actually going to get, considering that the 3-month essential pro trial thing that all of us users who've got it day one, that actual subscription that we signed up for is actually going to kick in February for a whopping $10 a month. So a lot of people are kind of like weighing whether or not they stick with it right now. And one of the bigger complaints has just been slow announcements, a slow trickle of new games to come on this thing within the first 3 months. And Google actually addressed this. I want to just read the whole quote. I don't want to like, you know, manipulate anything. They gave a statement to gamesindustry.biz, and they did back themselves up by saying that they have been providing weekly updates to the community, and I will commend them for that, but the actual statement around the 120 titles is this: we understand the desire to hear more specifics on the games. After all, that is what this is about, the games. Of course, not all 120 titles will be announced by the Stadia team, as we leave it up to the publishers to make the announcement about their IP and games and which platforms it will appear on, just as we will do with the exclusive content coming to Stadia. There are a lot of reasons for the time of those game announcements, anything from planned promotions or events, readiness, playable demos, shareholder requirements, etc., we continue to work closely with our publishing and developing partners, and we are here to support them in all areas. We are excited to share more about some of the exclusives games coming to Stadia. Of course, it's worth noting that we're also going to get more 4K resolution support, more browser support, additional Android phones. iOS people are still waiting for something good. But I want to point out, I think it's interesting that once again, last time there was kind of like a hubbub about games not actually being true 4K. Google came out and said, hey, it's up to the developers and publishers. And now that there's new talk about how many games this thing is having, Stadia has come out and once again said, hey, that's on the developers, that's on the publishers. Just want to point that out. And my take on this real quick, I just think like it doesn't matter how many games are coming on this thing. I don't care about the rate of games coming on this thing. I'm just at the point now where, like, no slight against it, I just don't want to stream games. It's not my preferred way to play games. I'm happy for some people that may need to stream games, and I've actually talked to some people that are into Google Stadia and are down to like hold on and see it get better. But for me personally, I think the price is a little too steep and I don't use it enough to justify it. But anyway, that's where we're at with Stadia. The next story is very exciting and interesting. A new announcement from AbleGamers that dropped today. A new device. They've collaborated with AT Makers for this device that essentially allows a person who is disabled, that is operating a motorized wheelchair, to actually connect their wheelchair directly to an Xbox and play games using the Xbox Adaptive Controller and this new device, a circuit board, with a connection that allows them to operate the game with the same joystick they use to steer and control their power wheelchair. That's awesome. This sounds like something that like should have been a thing already, but it hasn't been a thing. AbleGamers and AT Makers collaborated and came up with this, and I just wanted to highlight that because I think that is really big for folks that are operating certain types of wheelchairs. And all I want to say about this is, like, if you know people that are in wheelchairs that can take advantage of this tech, like, please spread the word, because there are devices out there that we've talked about in the past that folks who are disabled can use to take advantage of and play games. But instead of having a third-party device, the fact that some folks can now just use what they use to operate their wheelchair, which they're already used to, they can essentially be better at a game because it's the controls that they're used to. And I just think this is really, really good. So if you can, just spread the word. More info on it, like there's a video breaking down the process of actually making the thing, is linked in the description below. Also linked in the description below, I just want to highlight, we are taking submissions for an upcoming video. We're working on a video about photo modes in games. So if you've used a photo mode feature in a recent game and you've taken some really cool screenshots, we would love to feature them in an upcoming video. So linked in the description below, there is a form to submit a link to your images and where you can get credit in the video. There is a specific number of games that we are covering that will be listed, but if you have some cool images, we'd love for you to share them with us, for real. Thank you for that housekeeping. Now let's talk about some things throughout the week that you may have missed. We'll link them all in the description below. The first thing I want to highlight, if you're looking for something to play this weekend, the Disintegration beta has now gone open for everyone. You can download and try it on consoles and PC. Very curious to hear what you guys have been thinking. It's been getting some buzz. I'm not convinced yet, but I know, Andrew, you like it, right?
What?
Disintegration?
Oh yeah, it was fun.
Cool. That's convincing. That's a thing if you're bored, but we also have some trailers linked. The first is the Apex Legends story trailer for Revenant, which this cinematic is like way better than it needed to be. It's pretty awesome. We also linked a new trailer for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I am freaking out about. It's really good. It shows a lot. It shows Sephiroth. It shows our first look at Red. It shows some of the weirder sequences of Final Fantasy that we weren't sure were actually going to be in the game. For people who've never played Final Fantasy VII, maybe don't watch this one. It's a little spoilery. It shows like a lot of the game, to be honest. But as someone who played Final Fantasy VII, but it's not my favorite Final Fantasy game, I couldn't help but get really hyped. That's just me. Sorry, excuse me. But in other news, it seems like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has sold well above expectations. EA has announced that by March 31st, it's going to reach about 10 million units sold, which is pretty damn crazy. Now, this is, of course, a double-edged sword. I know, especially a lot of, for you angry folks out there, because on the one hand, EA is being rewarded. It's a company that people don't like for very valid reasons. But on the other hand, I look at it as, at the very least, that they have seen that now a just straight-up cinematic, linear-ish, single-player game can do well for them. You don't have to just make multiplayer games with microtransactions and free-to-play mobile games and stuff like that, they very much can still find success in regular, traditional, old-fashioned, fun single-player video games. And that makes me really happy. Maybe now they'll make, yes, another Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sequel, but also bring back Dead Space, please. But lastly, just some news catching up from earlier in the week. In case you did miss it, there's new rumors floating around thanks to a podcast that got an anonymous tipster. I'll link them in the description below. Shout out to them. But apparently, some information about Resident Evil 8. Now, we know that Capcom has been working on the excellent remakes, which has made me, the old school Resident Evil fan, very happy. But they have committed to continuing Resident Evil and after Resident Evil 7. And it sounds like, according to these leaks and rumors, which you should take with a grain of salt, that Resident Evil 8 will once again be first person, which a lot of people are surprised by that, but for me it's like, okay, the old games are this way, the new games they're making them this way. It worked for 7 as much as I wasn't crazy about it at first. Hey, also the main character is going to be the same as the one from 7, and you'll notice that I'm talking and I forgot his name because he was boring and bland, but they're sticking with him, so there's that. Maybe now they'll actually really flesh him out and make him interesting. The potential's there. The rumors also suggest that zombies are making a return. We're also going to get a look at some cool werewolf-type enemies, which really, really excites me. Also, Chris Redfield is going to have a more prominent role. I really hope they fixed his face. There is a little more floating around out there about like location and stuff like that. You know, we don't know if this is true, but if you want to read up on it, that is linked in the description down below. Now, before we go, just to get heavy for a sec, there's something that we wanted to raise awareness to. It's happened, it's kind of taken our community by storm, and we kind of wanted to share the story with the world, see if you guys can help out. You may have seen it in the news, but right here on Long Island, a young boy by the name of Thomas Valva has passed away due to complete neglect and abuse by his father, simply because he was autistic. So we wanted to raise awareness for autism and also help the family out any way we could. We have personally, but linked in the description will be a GoFundMe to support Thomas's family. If any of you guys can show up and help them out, we think it will be the right thing to do. And we just wanted to bring attention to this. It is really unfortunate, but thankfully it has brought our community together here on Long Island. So we wanted to share that story with you guys. So thank you for your ears. Thank you if you do contribute, whoever you are. We do appreciate it. They appreciate it. And Long Island appreciates it for sure. Long Island, New York. But of course, now we got to do our console giveaway we do every single week. You know how this goes down by now. There's a link in the description below. You click it to sign up. You enter once, then you're entered for good. And then every week we go in to randomly choose one person to win a free console of their choice. And this week's winner is going to be this person right here. Congratulations. Be sure to keep an eye on your inbox, your spam box, stuff like that, because we're going to be reaching out to you to find out how we can send you your free stuff. Definitely check your email because the last couple of people haven't responded. Also, again, be sure to get your screenshots in, any photo mode stuff you have. Be sure to send it to us in the link in the description below for a chance to get it featured in a video. But of course, before we go, now we got to talk about everything. There's a lot going on this week with developers preferencing possibly the PlayStation 5 over the next Xbox. Do you think there's any merit to this poll, or do you think it's just kind of like whatever? Also, Nintendo holding out and not giving us a new Nintendo Switch. Are you bummed? Were you holding out for that? Are you going to just go pick up a regular Switch now? Are you going to get that Animal Crossing Switch? Or do you just hate Nintendo? What do you think about Google Stadia? If you are a member, I would love to hear what you think. And also, if any of you have jumped into the Disintegration beta when it was closed or now when it's open, I'd love to hear what you think. Really, we'd love to hear what you are playing this weekend at all. So be sure to talk to us down in the comments. Let us know anything about the gaming news this week. We'll be down there as much as possible, but things get a little crazy, like I always say. So if you want to come yell at me directly, hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Jake Baldino. But again, thank you guys for coming around and watching, even during a slow news month of January. Thankfully, it's almost February. But if you did enjoy this video, clicking the like button does help us out. We would really, really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing, because like we say, we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Pizza's on me.